Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a deck for you that might be my new favorite build. I mean, this one just kind of came to me when, I don't know, you like think of something, you're like, wait, why have I not thought of this before? Like, I've seen this card, I did not immediately think of this, and now all of a sudden, it opens up a world of possibilities. So to see what those possibilities are, let's jump into the deck. Now, when it comes to the commander for this deck, it is not the focus of the deck. It is Garth. I love Garth One-Eye. I love Garth, but like my other Garth deck, Garth is just kind of like the cherry on top of the deck and not the focus of the deck itself. Garth is a 5/5 human wizard for 5 mana in Wooburg. Tap, choose a card name that hasn't been chosen from among Disenchant, Brain Geyser, Terror, Shivan Dragon, Regrowth, and Black Lotus. You get a copy of it. You can cast it, essentially. You still got to pay the cost for that card. I will say that, except for Black Lotus, which, of course, is free. Regardless, Garth is a toolbox commander. It is a Swiss Army knife that does so many things for you. It can be removal with either, Disenchant as well as Terror. Brain Geyser can be a great draw spell for you, an X draw spell. Regrowth can be a great way to bring something back. Black Lotus, of course, can be a great way to ramp. And then Shivan Dragon can be a Shivan Dragon, which I guess can be relevant potentially, but who cares? Anyways, Garth is a great 5-color commander that, again, is a toolbox that helps just do what your deck wants to do. It's also not all that threatening compared to some of the other 5-mana, commanders out there that are in 5 colors, like, Kenrith and that kind of stuff. So it can go under the radar a bit more than those. That being said, it does help this deck do what it wants to do. But now, with that said, let's jump into the Golden Pig and talk about what exactly we want this deck to do. So the Golden Pig of this deck, the number 1 card out of the 99, is Aggressive Biomancy. This is a card that I definitely read. I definitely reviewed during, well, the Modern Horizons crazy spoiler season stuff and all this stuff going on. And then, yeah, talked about it even on like a recent episode where I talked about cards to pick up that are under $1 from the pre-cons as well as from the set. And it's a card that I was like, oh, that's a cool effect, yeah, but I didn't really think about exactly what this does and how this kind of gives the perfect solution to a problem that I've had for a while with one of my decks. And it does do it in such an amazing way. It's a source for XX green and blue. Create X tokens that are copies of target creature you control, except they have. When this creature enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Now, the fighting is nice, but the most important thing is, again, you are making X copies of 1 creature. Typically, with clone spells, it's like, okay, like I copy 1 creature. Cool. Yay. Or even with like Red Replication, you copy it like 5 times or whatever it is, essentially. That's not a budget card itself. This is only 26 cents, very budget friendly. But with this one, you can say, I can hyper-focus on 1 creature. I can hyper-focus on it and say, what crazy thing can I do by copying it so many times? And some game-ending amazing things that can be done with that, especially one that just immediately came to mind when I was like, how do I do it to this creature? And I'm like, wait, there's a new spell. It helps me do this. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And of course, if you don't finish the game, yeah, you can fight some things. You can also, well, just, yeah, do some crazy things with this. Have a giant army of creatures in play. And if you don't finish it, you got Garth, right? You can just regrowth and get back to your hand and do it again. So obviously with this deck, we're going to be getting a lot of mana, dumping it into this, maybe copying it a couple of times and ensuring that, well, we have a big explosive play. Definitely, in my opinion, of the Golden Pig of the deck, worthy of that title, Aggressive Biomancy. Now, next up in tactic number 2, the Golden Piglet, I do want to mention Doppelgang, an amazing card. This one I did make an exception for. Every single card in this deck when I was building it, I believe I kept actually every single card except for this one, under 50 cents at the time of building the deck. So yeah, incredibly budget friendly. This one is 98 cents. I made an exception. It takes up a lot of the budget being, $17 budget and 23 cents according to Moxfield. Incredibly budget friendly deck. If you are interested, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. That doesn't include shipping or basic lands, but you already have those. Regardless, Doppelgang, another crazy cool card. Sorcery for XXX green and blue. For each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of that permanent. Now, Doppelgang isn't nearly as specific as Aggressive Biomancy. Again, typically what we're going to be doing with this deck is getting 1 creature and saying, you're the creature. Yes, I'm the creature. I want all of you Cool. All of the creatures of that creature. Perfect. You got it. With this one, though, it's more so, okay, I've got these things. Copy all of them, which includes a creature, too, but you have an extra X, so it does take a bit more mana-intensive of an approach. That being said, I mean, you can be like, okay, I copy lands. Oh, gross, crazy. Yeah, you can do some really crazy things with this one. And also, again, it doesn't have to be something that you control. So it can be something an opponent controls, which can just be the funniest thing of all time, taking your opponents out with an army of their best things. So, yes. Another amazing card, one that does work as a great finisher for this deck as well. In my opinion, worthy of the title of the Golden Piglet. Now moving on to tactic number 3, and of course I already made a mistake in saying that every single card in this deck outside of Doppelgang is less than 50 cents. Gary. Dang it, Gary, 62 cents right now. Regardless, tactic number 3, Gary and Friends. Gary is the other card with aggressive Biomancy that I thought of. I was like, you know what? Will be a fun way to finish players off that is unexpected in a Garth deck, one would think. Yeah, getting Grey Merchant from Asphodel and playing your opponent's being like, okay, you drained us for 3. Because Garth has 1 pip, obviously. 2/4 zombie for 5 mana, 3 black. Enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life for extra devotion to black. You gain life, your life lost this way. This is typically only really seen in, like, mono black decks. Typically, because, hey, get devotion up, drain opponents for a lot. That being said, with this deck, we're like, no. We play this on literally a board. We just have our commander maybe in drain for 3. We might even have our commander on the board. We might just drain for 2. It's fine. It's completely fine. Our opponent's like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, like, aggressive Biomancy, X equals 10. Oh, no. All of the Garys in play. So again, when you do this, when you say again, let's say again, you get to X equals 10, just for, you know, the sake of argument. And yeah, we've got a ton of ways to ramp. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, and ways to copy as well. Regardless, if you get like 10 Garys in play, they all see each other, which means they all see all of those pips, all of that devotion. And they also see the original Gary as well, and they drain for a ton. So it doesn't take too many Garys out there at the same time to drain your opponents out and win. That being said, we've got other options as well. Like a lower to the ground Wayward Servant, a 2/2 zombie for 2 mana, and Orzhov enters the battlefield under your control. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Yeah, again, when you are having that giant aggressive Biomancy type play, that Doppelgang type play, where you make a ton of copies of this, they all see each other, which means that if you have, say again, 10 of these entering, they all say, oh, I see you, I see you, I see you. Drain everyone for a ton, including the original that sees all the other ones coming in as well. So again, it doesn't take too many to just drain all your opponents out at once. Also, Grim Guardian, yet another zombie. Keep in mind that actually the Wayward Servant cares about zombies again, and also Grey Merchant is a zombie. Grim Guardian's a zombie. 1/4 zombie. Whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Yeah, another amazing way to just drain your opponents a ton, potentially game ending if you cast the aggressive Biomancer or Doppelgang for enough. Keep in mind as well, if like your opponents are like hanging on by a thread at the end of that, and you're like, I play like Fauna Fertility. We'll get to that card in a little bit. You play like just a miscellaneous enchantment, and you're like, oh, well, I've got 10 of these in play now. I drain you all for 10. I win! Yeah, you can win in a lot of spicy ways with some unexpected cards with this deck. Moving on, tactic number 4, go get it. Yeah, we actually need to go get the cards that we need to use to win. Obviously. And so we are going to be able to go get those cards like Aggressive Biomancer with a card like Ringsight, Sorcery for 3 mana. The Ring Tempts you. Search life for a card that shares a color that lets your creature control, reveal, open your hand, then shuffle. Another reason why Garth is a good choice for this deck is Garth is a 5-color commander that has 5 colors in its color cost. I can't talk. You know what I mean. Like, Morophon would not work well with Ringsight. This works well with Ringsight. Keep that in mind. 3 mana, tutor whatever you want, essentially. Go get any piece that you want to win. Grim Servant enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, mana value less than or equal to your devotion to black, reveal, put your hand, then shuffle, you lose 3 life. This plus Garth equals 2 devotion. So there you go. Devotion matters in another way, apparently, too. Go tutor out. Again, potentially even Aggressive Biomancy or Doppelgang. Bring to light. Search life for a creature. Instant source card. Converting mana cost less than or equal to the number of colors of mana spent to cast this. Most likely 5. Exile a card, shuffle your library. You may cast the card without paying its mana cost. This can actually, you don't want to go get Aggressive Biomancy with this because you just cast it for X equals 0. So that would not be good. But you can like tutor out another tutor with this. So keep that in mind. Next up, Coveted Prize. 1 last cast for each creature in your party. Search life for a card, put in your hand, then shuffle. Don't worry about having a full party. We just don't care about that. Final parting, search for 2 cards. 1 goes in the hand, 1 goes in the graveyard. get the right cards for each, essentially. Illicit Shipment, Casualty 3, so you can sacrifice a creature to double this up. Sorry, Garth, it might be you. Search life for a card, put in your hand, then shuffle. Moving on, we got Invasion of Arcavios, a card that does so much work in this deck. ETB, tutor out a from your library, graveyard, and or outside the game, so keep that in mind. Anywhere, essentially. Instant sorcery card you own, reveal it, put in your hand. If you search life for this way, shuffle it. I will mention that outside the game technically doesn't exist according to the rules committee. Anyways, so yeah, tutor out the card that you need, like Aggressive Biomancy. Flip this over once you take out that battle. Whenever you cast an instant source spell from your hand, you may copy that spell to target to the copy. This is one of the many ways to copy our amazing spells. Again, we're going to be ramping. We're going to be getting a ton of mana into our giant X spells like Aggressive Biomancy, and by copying it, it's kind of like taking that X and taking one of those X's out, because it is doubling up that spell, essentially. So again, if you put 10 mana total into that spell, that's X equals 4. You basically then are having X equals 8 if you double up that spell. So it's kind of like doubling up your efficiency with your mana. Next up, Razcast Right. Speaking of efficiency, you can cycle it away if you don't need it. So just discard it and draw a card. Good, for 1 mana. Or 5 mana, search live for a card, put in your hand, then shuffle. The supply and demand. Supply, you could really win if you really want to be like, oh, okay, well, my plan didn't work. Okay, I just make a ton of saplings. Boom! Just like 40 saplings out of nowhere and just taking your opponents out. Demand is the other side of this. More likely we're using this. Search life for a multicolor card, an amazing tutor. Put in your hand for 3 mana. And then we've got Invert Invent. Invent's what we care about. Tutor out an instant and or sorcery at instant speed for 6 mana. A great card in this deck. Moving on to tactic number 5, seeing double, because again, like I mentioned, doubling up some instant sorceries can be very impactful, especially at the high end with our Aggressive Biomancy, our Doppelgang. Those are game-ending plays. Also, if you like early on want to double up some like ramp spells to like really get things going, do that too. Galvanic Iteration, when you're casting your next instant source spell this turn, you copy to target the copy. You can also flash it back, so it might even be worth it to like cast this, flash it back, and then all of a sudden do crazy things with all that copying, then casting your giant spell. Analo the Painter, the first in sorcery spell you cast each turn as Casualty 2. Sorry, Garth, might be sacrificing you, my bad. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, being able to double up again your giant game-ending spell can be even more game-ending. Magus Lucia Kane, a ramp as well as doubler for us. 1/1 that says beginning of combat, your turn put a counter target creature. Cool. Don't really care all that much. But tap for 2 colors when you cast a spell with X and its mana cost or activate ability X and its mana cost this turn. Copy that spell or ability to target to the copy. Yeah, doubling up those spells can be absolutely massive. Repeated Reverberation, 4 mana instant. Basically, when you're casting your next instant sorcery, double it. It also doubles up Planeswalker abilities. We don't really care about that. We care about just doubling up a giant spell. Moving on, a Shaman. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, from Warhammer. 3/3 Mutant Shaman, flying. Whenever it deals combat to a player, copy the next instant source spell you cast this turn, which is targets to the copy. Again, it doesn't matter who we get through on. We just hit one player. Again, most likely one player is not going to have a flyer or a creature with reach. Get through on them, and all of a sudden, yeah, we're doubling up our spell. Or yeah, if you need to get through, like, okay, like, you just have a creature, one creature flying, right? Cool, I tap Garth, Terror, take out that creature, cool. Swing through now. Yay! Moving on, Double Vision. When you're casting your first in-source spell each turn, you copy that spell to target to the copy. An extra free way once it's in play to get a lot of additional value throughout the game, and just, yeah, double up our giant spells. Cloven Casting, more specific, a janky card, but yeah, believe me, this can really do work for you. Whenever you play a multicolored instant sorcery spell, you may pay 1. If you do, copy that spell to target to the copy. It is well worth having this in play when you cast your massive game-ending spell to just pay 1 mana and be like, okay, I double it now. Yay. Swarm Intelligence, even better though, of course. Whenever you're casting any instant sorcery spell, you copy that spell to the copy. Being able to just copy every single one of your spells gives you so much value throughout the game. And then obviously at the high end, yeah, copy your copy spells and then copy your massive spell to win. Moving on to tactic number 6, though, dig down. Yeah, again, like I mentioned, Brain Geyser. Garth actually is just built in with a giant draw engine for us, which is lovely and amazing. That being said, other ways to dig down in our deck to get those tutors, to get the cards that we need to win. Occult Epiphany is a great one. Draw X cards, discard X cards, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying for each card type among cards discarded this way. So actually we can make like a little army of creatures to help us with blocking. Maybe swing if we need to, but most likely blocking. Read the runes. Draw X cards. For each card drawn this way, discard a card, sacrifice a permanent. Could be worth sacrificing some permanents if we absolutely need to. Maybe those spirits we just made. Regardless, another great way to instant speed, dump a ton of mana into this, dig down into our deck and get what we need to win. Make it like a massive looting effect, essentially. Pull for tomorrow, much smaller looting. I mean, on the downside, but the upside so much better. Draw X cards, discard 1 card. So again, we're only discarding 1 card. We're going up so many cards instant speed. Absolutely lovely. Instant speed X spells are amazing for draw. Drown in Dreams. Choose 1. If you control your commander's cast spell, you may choose both instead. I mean, technically, we could win with this. Yeah, target player draws X cards, target player mills twice X cards. At a certain point, you might have enough mana, enough ways to copy this spell where you can just be like, I mill you out. You maybe even make someone like draw out too, potentially, but more likely, what you care about, again, is just drawing a ton of cards with this. Sphinx's Revelation. Gain X life, draw X cards. I remember this card was like $5 back in the day in Standard. No longer, just 20 cents. Absolutely lovely. Stroke of Genius, another very simple draw X cards. Target player draws X cards. Expansion Explosion, another way to potentially win as well. First up, you can copy small spells with this, which is nice. Explosion, though, X damage to any target player draws X cards. So dig down your deck, take someone out potentially. What's not to love about that? Moving on to tactic number 7, 1 for the money. Yeah, ramp. We need to do it. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bubble. Pay 2 tap, sacrifice, get any land into play, tap. Any basic, I should say. Fodder Fertility, basically Enchantment Bauble. Rampant Growth, the OG ramp. 2 mana, get a basic into play, tap. Edge of Autumn, exact same thing if you've got 4 fewer lands. If not, cycle it away by sacrificing a land. Cultivate, basic lands, 2 of them, 1 into your hand, 1 into play, tapped. Dire Strain Rampage. A nice removal spell for us. Basically, destroy an artifact or enchantment, and then the opponent, if we do so on an opponent, they get a land. Good for them. Cool. Basic into play, tapped. But actually, you know what? If we destroy maybe one of our own lands, if we want to ramp, go get 2 into play untapped as well. Or tapped, I should say. You can also flash it back as well. Farhaven Elf. Enters the battlefield. Search the library for a basic land from the battlefield, tap, then show up your library. Keep in mind, a really funny play could actually just be aggressive Biomancy or Doppelgang. My Farhaven Elf. I get all my basics into play. Good luck stopping me now that I have all my mana. So you really can do that as well. Harrow, sacrifice 1 land, get 2 basics in play, untapped. Roiling Regrowth, exact same thing, but slower. They come into play tapped. Search for Tomorrow, a great turn 1 place to spend for a green mana. Spend 2. Get a basic in play untapped when you do cast it. Springloom Druid, again, technically get a lot of lands out if you really want to do that. For copying it, but more likely just do it once. Enters the battlefield, sacrifice 1 land, get 2 basics into play tapped. Greater Tanuki. This can actually be a win condition. And it's also a dog wizard. You need to errata these now. I think that like the Tanuki came out before we actually had raccoons in Magic, but it's not a dog. It's a raccoon. Anyways, 6/5 enchant creature dog with trample for 6 mana. That being said, you can just channel it away to go get a basic and unplay tap. So channel away most of the time, but other times it's like, oh, well, you stopped all my zombie stuff, so cool. Time to get out the raccoon dog thing and take you all out with a lot of that. Road to Ruin. Road is going to be a good ramp spell for us, but Ruin is going to be the other side of it. Damage our creature with a number of lands you control, so it can be a good removal spell for us too. Beanstalk Giant, kind of like the raccoon dog thing. Beanstalk Giant, we can cast actually as an adventure to go ramp and get a basic, or we can play it, and actually it's going to have power and toughness equal number of lands we control. And when you like aggressive Biomancy that, it is a giant board wipe that takes out your opponent's creatures and also just leaves you with an absurdly large army in play. Next up, tactic number 8. Yeah, you might think we're done with ramp, but we are not done with ramp. Again, we've got massive spells we want to cast for massive amounts of mana. 2 for the show. This is going to be a tactic we talk about. Getting more than 1 land into play. Colony Expedition. Landfall, basically. Landfall 3 times. Sacrifice this. Get 2 basics into play tapped. An incredible card. And one that can be really fun to like win with like Grim Guardian. Again, you have like 10 Grim Guardians in play. Your opponents are like on their last breath. They're like, I will survive. And you're like, I play an enchantment. You're gone. Yay! Grow from the Ashes. If you kick it, you get 2 basics into play untapped. If not, you get 1. Explosive Vegetation, 2 lands into play, tapped basics. Migration Path, the exact same thing, but you can cycle it away. Path of the Animus, basically the exact same thing. No cycling. Terramorph. This is like a delayed Explosive Vegetation in a way. Get a basic land into play untapped, rebound, cast it again for free. Essentially do the exact same thing. Vastwood Surge. Give your creatures counters if you want to kick it. If not, yeah, just basically Explosive Vegetation. This is Renewal. Gain 7 life. Who cares? I mean, it's not bad to gain 7 life, but more we care about essentially is the 6 mana. Ramp 3. Get 3 basics and play tap. Verdant Confluence can be the exact same thing essentially, or we can get a permanent card from our graveyard back to our hand. That might be like Gary if we need that. 2 counters on a creature. Just pick 3 of these modes essentially, okay? As many times as we want to. Not as many times as we want to. The same mode more than once can be chosen, I should say. But yeah, keep in mind, like, if you copy these spells, you can just ramp ramp to oblivion, which is amazing. Verdant Mastery, another great ramp spell as well. If you pay the entire cost, the 6 mana, you actually get to get 2 lands into play tapped and 2 into your hand. Again, all basics essentially. If you are paying 4 instead, you give one of those lands that would have been in your hand to an opponent into play under their control. So good for them. Next up, tactic number 8, wrenches. Yeah, let's throw some wrenches into our opponent's plans. First up, we got collective resistance. This is a crazy good card. Basically, choose one or more, turn artifact, enchantment, or give a creature hexproof indestructible on turns. This can be a great way to protect one of our key pieces, like say okay, Gary's in play, we're targeting it. Opponent's like, I will stop you, and we're like, no. And by the way, I also destroy some of your things. Next up, Valorous Stance, very similar. So our creature gains indestructible until end of turn, or we can destroy a big creature. Moment of Valor. Again, basically the exact same thing. Destroy a big creature, or we actually give a creature indestructible, but we also get to untap that creature. So keep in mind that actually works with Garth, and Garth being able to activate more than once in a turn. Acidic Slime. This is where things get quite spicy, and maybe hurt some feelings of your playgroup, but if you're already casting a spell for like an absurd amount, and it's a giant, X mana aggressive Biomancy spell, and they like dealt with your Gary, and you're like, okay, you dealt with my Gary. That's rude. Acidic Slime's in play. Enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Yeah, I aggressive Biomancy copy this. First up, that's a board wipe because all those creatures come into play and can fight, and they've got Death Touch, so keep that in mind. Secondly, ETB, your lands are gone. So yeah, I mean, at a certain point, once everything else runs out you can destroy, you gotta destroy lands, so goodbye lands. Speaking of which, Riftwing Cloudscape. ETB, return target permanent to its owner's hand, does not say non-land. Keep that in mind, so it can also be another finisher for you too. It's good to have these backup finishers for you as well, in the wrenches as well. So like, if Gary doesn't work, you got other ways to just win the game. So there you go. Moving on, Ashen Rider. Speaking of which, oh my, gross. Enters the battlefield or dies, exile target permanent, 5/5 flyers. Get a lot of these in play again, just aggressive Biomancy it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, haha, all your things are gone. Oh, and if you try to take my creatures out, or maybe they took themselves out while fighting, all your other things are gone. Everything is gone. You lose. Next up, Terastodon. Yeah, the nastiest way potentially to win the game. 9/9 Elephant. Getting a lot of copies of this is just gross. Enters the battlefield and may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. Basically, it's a beast within. You give those players that had things destroyed 3/3 elephants. So, hey, you get some elephants, but everything else is gone. I mean, your creatures are still there, but everything else is gone. But your creatures actually aren't there because my Terastodons come into play and fight as well when I'm aggressive Biomancing, so keep that in mind. Woodfall Primus, very similar. ETB, destroy target non-creature permanent, can also persist, so absolutely gross, absolutely amazing. Lots of ways to unexpectedly finish the game off. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you with your thoughts on this crazy, off-the-wall, insano, I mean, Gary plus all of Gary's friends plus lots of Gary's deck. Yeah, when I started thinking about just like, okay, like, one of my favorite things in Magic is literally just, I like Gary. I like Gary, but like, I like Gary in weird decks. Like, Gary in Mono Black makes a lot of sense, right? It's just like, it's a good finisher there. But I like Gary in a deck that it's unexpected. It's like, you just played Gary, and your devotion is 2. What? You're like, yeah, I don't know. It's just not working. This deck's not working. And the next thing you're like, aggressive Biomancy, X equals 10. Lots of fun. At least for you. Anyways, your opponent should think it's fun too. Like, come on, casting big things is hilarious, right? And then copying it, and then copying it again. Is it just me? Let me know if it's just me. Anyways, if you are interested in this deck, again, according to Moxfield, $17.23 does not include shipping or basic lands, but you might already have those. Deck list link in the description below. Absolutely crazy fun times deck. I thank you for watching this episode. Of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.